In this video, we're going to show you how to fit tongue and groove wall panelling. With this particular wall panel design, we would recommend removing your skirting board so that your panelling sits behind it rather than sits on top of it. This is because if you have a skirting board profile that is quite thin on top, the panel sitting on top would hang over. If you have a thicker or squared profile, it could work, but it's down to personal preference. Firstly, we need to mark the height that we want the panels to sit on our wall. We're going to go with 900mm, as we think that will look aesthetically pleasing with the size of our wall, but it's entirely down to personal preference. Once we've made this mark, we need to draw a full line across our wall with the spirit level, so we know that our markings are perfectly straight. After this, we're measuring from the architrave to the end of our wall, so we know that how many panels we will need. Our wall space is 2330mm, and our panels are 85mm in width, so we'll need 28 pieces. 27 will be full panels and one of them will need to be cut down. We stock our panel lengths at 2950mm, so this means that we can get 3 panel pieces per length. If we was to make this order, we would need 10 lengths to have enough material for our project. Now that that's complete, we need to cut our panels down to size. We marked our wall height at 900mm, but we're going to cut 880mm panel pieces so that we have a bit of breathing room from the flooring. This is fine because our skirting will cover this gap once it's fitted. Our tongue and groove panels come in 2950mm lengths. We're going to cut 3 950mm pieces. This is because we want to cut them down to a more manageable size for an accurate cut after, and there is also minimum wastage from our panel lengths. Once we've cut them down to a manageable size, we can measure and mark our first piece ready to be cut. When we've cut our first piece, we're going to hold it in place with a block so that every other piece that we placed here will be cut to exactly the same size. This saves us using a tape measure and pencil for each panel piece. Once we've cut all the panel pieces required, it's time to fit them to our wall. Hold up your first panel piece to the wall, making sure it's sat flush on your pencil marking. Once you're happy, pin it to the wall with a nail gun. We recommend pinning the panel on the tongue piece so that your nail hole will be hidden when the next piece is fitted. Now that that's done, we can fit our next piece. With our tongue and groove panels, each piece will interlock with each other. Once it's locked into place and is sat flush on your pencil marking, pin it to the wall on the same place as the tongue with the nail gun. Use this same method of interlocking your panels, sitting them flush on your pencil markings, and pinning them to the wall on the tongue part of the panel for the rest of your wall. You'll eventually get to the end of your wall where you'll need to cut a panel down to size. To find out how much you'll need to cut your final panel piece down to, use a measuring tape and measure to the beginning of the tongue on the previous panel, the area that we're highlighting with our pencil, to the end of the wall. Once you've got this measurement, mark it up on your final panel piece. We're going to mark both ends of the panel and draw a line with a straight edge, so we know that our markings are as accurate as possible, as we'll be cutting it with a saw. When it comes to sawing your panel, be firm but take your time, ensuring that you're cutting to your pencil marking. Providing that you have measured and cut your panel accurately, it should slide nicely between your panel and the wall. Our panel installation is now complete. Now we need to fit our Dado rail and skirting board. We're going to mark our Dado rail at the length of our wall and cut it down to size. We have rebaited our Dado rail, which we do offer on our website, so that it sits nicely on top of our panels, as you can see here. Once it's sat nicely in place and you're happy, pin it to the wall with a nail gun. Just a quick tip, we have 30mm depth architrave already fitted to our wall, as we knew that we was fitting this particular wall panelling. This means that our Dado rail and skirting board will sit nicely up against our architrave. However, if your existing architrave depth is less than 30mm, your Dado rail will stick out. To combat this, you can bevel it so that it returns on itself for a more aesthetically pleasing finish. Or you can replace the architrave so that the depths match. Again, it's entirely down to personal preference. Back to our wall panelling. Now it's time to fit our skirting board. And just like our Dado rail, we're going to mark the length of our wall and cut it down to size. Once it's cut, offer it up and pin it with a nail gun. Just like our Dado rail, our skirting sits flush with our 30mm depth architrave. Now that our wall panelling is complete, it's time for some cosmetic work. You'll need to fill any holes across our Dado rail, skirting board and panelling with filler. And finally, sanding down the filler once it has dried. check the instructions on the filler that you use for the drying time. We hope that this tutorial has covered everything off and helped you fit your wall panelling. If you do have any questions, leave us a comment and we will get back to you. We would love to see what designs you create, so please do tag us in your journey on Instagram, and you can tag us on @skirting4u. For more home tutorials, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.